Live streaming is on.
All right, hello, welcome to the next Nix Hour. Just to start off, last time I opened a poll to find a new time for the Nix Hour. Looks like Tuesday, 19 CET is going to be the new time. So I will actually close the poll right now. And so the next Nix Hour will be next week. There won't be one. Let's take a week break, and then the new one, the next one, I think will be on. So there's cal, a very simple calendar utility. So this week won't be one. The next one will therefore be on Tuesday, the 28th of March, 19, actually CEST, since the summertime switch is going to happen. This is a bit unfortunate for people in the US. See my reply here for some more context. But yeah, so just as an update for that. But yeah, in the meeting here, we had a question. The question was about this nixpkgs PR, where master of nixpkgs was merged into the PR, and that's being complained about because it doesn't give a clean Git history. And so let's take a look at how to reconcile that. So I'll copy the let's copy the PR number here. Let's go into a nixpkgs clone and.
Can you pause for a second? I think there's something wrong
Yes.
with the audio. It's just with me. There's some echoing.
I don't have an echo. Does anybody else have that?
Okay, it's maybe just for me.
Yeah, maybe. So go into, maybe you have to like mute yourself. That could be the case. But yeah, I'll go into the PR. Use the GitHub CLI here to check it out locally. And then we can look at git log, and we should see the commits here. You can see this is a merge commit. It merges two commits into one. Now I believe well, actually, let's also look at git lg. That's an alias I have. I think config git config. Here would be the lg alias. I think I copied that from somewhere. But this displays a kind of nicer graph of how the commits work together. But actually here it's going to be pretty messy because we have all of the intermediate nixpkgs commits here. But this works better for when you don't have as many commits. And so to fix this, let's look at what commits we have here. So actually GitHub displays the best. So we have upscaly, app image, new version, and then another one. So we kind of want to get rid of these merge commits. Let's see if we can fix this with a git rebase. So git rebase is what you'd usually use to make changes to commits or git commit amend. But yeah, so -I with git rebase is interactive rebase. This allows you to kind of reorder commits as you see them. And then I'm just going to run head ~6, which rebases the last 6 commits. And actually, this is going to have a whole bunch of commits from nixpkgs. Instead, what I believe should work, there is a merge option to git rebase. Actually, no, it's not git merge. It's merge. There is an option to
keep merges.
Keep merges. That sounds pretty good. Keep merges. Oh, and I need to do this before, I think. Keep merges. Apparently not this one.
Apologies.
No problem. Guess let's grep for merge. Nope, that to redirect to number 1. So we redirect str to std out. Then we can, oh, here, rebase merges. So it's just -r or -- rebase merges. Let's do this, rebase merges. And then the last 6 commits. Oh, and we are in a rebase already, so we need to abort this one. All right, now let's try this again. And yeah, that's not as pretty as I was hoping. Okay, instead, a very easy way to fix this, and I'm gonna abort this rebase as well, is to cherry pick the commits. Well, if someone has another suggestion, please let me know.
I can make a suggestion. You could do the log to eliminate. You can give the what's it called? The dot operator.
Oh.
In the rebase command, you can use that rebase only from this. What's the?
So is it head 6 ... like this?
No, what you would want is master, I guess. You want the
the commit.
You want head ... master. I think that's what you would like, because then you would exclude anything already merged into master.
Although this would be upstream master. Actually, yeah, let's fetch upstream first, and then get rebase -I head ... upstream master, I think.
Yes, because then you would only rebase the commits that are not part of master already.
Oh, invalid upstream. Oof.
I'm pretty sure this syntax works, but I may remember wrong.
Screen sharing turned off.
Oh. Screen sharing here. Yeah, that says invalid upstream. I wonder. I do not know this syntax. What?
If you would prefer, you could just do a git log. It would just list the X commits you want, and then you just do the rebase from the parent of the last commit or the first commit.
Yeah.
The syntax would definitely work for log.
Yes. We had a.
It's gone
oh,
again.
it's gone again. Oh man, Jitsi, please. So it stopped again when I started it. That's great. So yeah, git log doesn't actually display all the right ones. Like it goes into the Nix packages history here. I'd say, okay, let me just show the way how I'd do this now. I would do this very primitively and so kind of just redo it. So we'd go into git reset to upstream master. So we reset the current branch to the upstream master one. And then we could just do a kind of cherry pick of all these commits. It's a bit manual. But this is the best thing that comes to my mind that does work or should work. So cherry pick these commits. And now we have a history where the upstream master commit is at the bottom and the 4 commits from here are at the top. Now we could also do a git rebase on upstream master. Let's do an interactive one. And then let's change all these to a squash. So we pick the first commit, but then squash all of the subsequent one in the one at the top. There's a nice summary for what you can do in an interactive rebase down here. And then we also have the option to change the commit message. So commit messages in Nix packages, the recommended way is the one down here. So init at the version with the attribute name or the package name at the beginning. Oh, I think it's the attribute name. All right. And once we do this, we will have a single commit on top of master, which is the generally recommended format. And you'll also see, because we used the cherry pick, the author was maintained. And I'm not the author of this commit, though I am the committer. I believe if we have full format full, oh yeah, then it would show that, okay, I am the committer, but the author is the original one. But yeah, I'm open to like hearing better options. The one from before didn't work, but if someone knows, I'd love to hear that. And also feel free to mention this in the chat. All right. So since myself, I'm a Nix packages, like I can merge commits, I could just push the changes myself to this, but I'll leave this to the original author to themselves to figure it out. But yeah, you can also just do the same thing I did here. All right. Does this answer the question well enough, at least? Okay, I'm just gonna assume yes. Yeah. If
Okay, yeah.
does anyone?
Much. That was very helpful.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I should now get a bit better, but I can't think of any other way right now.
I'm a bit confused. If you're interested,
yeah.
I could share screen quickly, demonstrate what worked for me with a problem.
Go ahead.
So let's see, this should be okay. Does this actually work? Yes. Can you see my screen? Yeah.
Yep.
So my git branch grep master. I have my master, which is pointing at this latest one from the nixus nixpkgs repo. And then, as you can see here, I added zombies upstream with a git remote add. Then I did a git remote update, add, update, and then you see the checkout command here. And then I just did git rebase I master, nothing more. But I'm in the rebase already, git rebase abort like you demonstrated. And I get only those 6 or whatever commits, nothing more.
Oh, interesting.
Git is smart enough as long as you have your branches in order to fix this.
And I guess also we only tried with the preserving merges instead of ignoring merges, which would then pick the commits.
But even if we do the preserving merges, I don't think git rebase abort. Okay. What was the keep merges? No, what was the
just -r for short.
I don't think that should do anything because it's only the merges within the branch history we are updating that really matters. So you can see now where the author merged and kept the master branch of Nix package up to date.
Maybe we were at a strange head or something. I don't know.
But I'm currently at a detached head myself.
Yeah, I think I just would have had to use
like
upstream/master instead of head ... upstream/master.
I didn't use the ... feature. I thought it would help because you had a lot more commits. I didn't get all those with just the master. That was my point. That's all I wanted to show.
All right.
It should be easier if you, if you get to know it.
Yeah. All right. I would like to. Oh no, I think that's good. So yeah, we saw two different ways now. The conceptually simpler one to me, since rebase is kind of some black magic in Git, which I think underlying underneath it uses git merge. And this can be confusing sometimes. I sometimes, for simplicity, just like to do the, oh, screen sharing stopped again. I sometimes like to just keep it simple with the git cherry picks. But yeah, feel free to use git merge. That seems much simpler. All right. So after this, well, does anyone else have a question they want to ask? Or we could also look at another PR or...
I have a question, if you don't mind.
Yeah, feel free.
Do you still use nixus that you wrote?
Oh, yes, I do. That's an unexpected question, but yeah, for a bit more context, this is my kind of experimental personal deployment tool. The name is quite bad, to be honest, and the README is kind of, it doesn't describe the entire motivation for why I wanted this. It doesn't really have docs. It works just barely. It has some problems. I don't really have time to develop it either, but I am still using it for my personal machines.
All right.
Yeah, I could also show some things about my Nixus configuration to show like what, you know, there are some cool things that you can do with Nixus, and that was the main motivation. I guess since we're talking about this, I almost have to. So I'm just going to go into my configuration here and show some basic ones. And so the concept that exists in Nixus that doesn't exist in any other deployment tools, as far as I know, is the concept of modules over multiple machines. And this allows you to kind of build abstractions that span not just one machine, which Nixus modules would be for, but over multiple machines. And so, for example, if I go into here, we have a VPN setup module spanning multiple machines. And so here I have I pretty much declare VPN networks. And so we have one network that's based on the Oracle server machine, and then I can declare the server here. I can declare all the clients and their public keys, private keys, their subnet IPs, and so on. And this is the only thing needed to configure the network. Well, and the private keys. These have to be manually created. But so this then kind of fans out to all of these different machines. So it configures the server's public key on each of the clients. It configures the client's public keys on the server. It configures all of the subnets, the permissions, the networking, and so on. And so this is, and this can be easily repeated. So we have another one down here for an entirely different network. And the implementation of this not just writes like a single Nixus module, right? But it writes multiple essentially. We can also look at the implementation of that here. It's here. So VPN WireGuard. So in here we can see in the implementation, it sets on the server node a configuration. The configuration opens ports, it sets trusted interfaces, it configures WireGuard, and then for each of the clients, down here, for each of the clients, it sets kind of the same thing, but in the other way around. And this can be done in a single module, and you can have options to declare these things, the public keys, the private keys, and so on. And these modules can be, there are some built-in ones to Nixus, but you can also use create custom ones at the user side, just like you can with Nixus modules. So that's also what I did in my configuration. So we have, for example, I created an RTC wake module, which allows me to kind of suspend a machine and having it wake up every couple hours and check whether on the server I configured to not have the machine sleep anymore. And so this also involves multiple machines, so I can write a nice Nixus module for that. such as I have an SSH access module, which I'm using here as a dependency. I have a server configuration that I set here. I have another machine that I configure here with the right options. Yeah, and so on. And well, actually, last thing I want to show, the SSH access, that's pretty cool in my opinion. So this pretty much declares which machine has SSH access to which other machine. And so I can say here, the very machine, the Infinisal user on that machine has access to the very machine and its Infinisal user. And just setting the single line configures SSH access in both directions. Well, no, it configures SSH access in one direction, this one here, and both on the client and the server. So on the server, it configures the public key. On the client, it configures the host key. So you don't have to confirm the host whenever you SSH to that machine, or the first time. Yeah, so I could talk more about this, but I don't want to do that too much. But if you have a question about this, I guess now's the time.
I had a question about Nixus. I don't know you, so I don't know if you're pro Flakes or not, but I wanted to ask if there was some we could look up for how to leverage Nixus with Flakes.
I see. I'm kind of invariant to Flakes. I think it needs some work. I personally don't use Flakes, although I think there's very few people that actually use Nixus as well, and some of them use it with Flakes. And I've had issues in the past where it wouldn't work with like impurities, I believe, somewhere. But in any case, there's nothing that should be needed to make it work with Flakes. So maybe let's try it out briefly. So if I go here, let's create a Nix Hour Nixus flakes. Let's create a flake. Now let's try inputs.nixus equals GitHub Initial Nixus.
URL.
Yeah, Yuri?
You need to add .url.
Oh, thank you. So we take Nixus here, then I guess, so it's not a Nixus modules or Nixus configuration that it produces because it spans multiple machines. So I'm just going to use packages simple thing for now. Configuration equals Nixus. And now so Nixus at the root has a default.nix, which you can import to kind of make it work. There's also an example here. I'm not sure if the example works. There's no CI as well. I don't really recommend using this, but I guess this is a tutorial for any project that also doesn't have a flake. And so, yeah, pretty much you import the root default.nix. You can configure some things with this argument here, though in this case it's empty. And then it's just a Nixus module. And so I can just do this here, import Nixus. So Flakes makes the attributes here point to the source, pass the empty argument, and then pass the module. And I think this might be everything that's needed, though I think we'll get some error with the system probably. So let's try this. Next build configuration, or actually configuration Nixus config like this. Oh, I guess Vim doesn't work with that. All right, it's not a flake, so we need to say flake equals false. All right, now current system is missing. I believe to make that work, we need to look at what we can pass in here. Let's see, default. So this is the nixus args here. And in here, I believe, yeah, there is a deploy system. And so this is a system that will deploy the machine. And I'm gonna set in here, deploy system equals this one.
Does deploy one system to all machines?
So this is only the deploy system. It's not the machine of the actual deployed systems. So this is only,
Okay, got it.
so in the end, what it does, config, it generates a result script. So this is the script. It's bash. It's hacky. But the script, when you run it, it should deploy the machines. And so that does, but we don't have any nodes. But yeah, this is maybe almost everything you need. There is also, you will need to set a system for the actual machines. Let's see in here how we can declare a node. I'm gonna do this. Actually, let me copy this entire thing. This is a bit messy now. Hold on. Like this. Okay, I think this should work. We don't need this. And so in Nixus, you can set a nixpkgs individually for each node as well. So nodes can use different nixpkgs versions if you need them to. And so in this case, let's just set it for one machine. I don't think I have that server anymore, so deploying will probably fail. But here we're fetching a nixpkgs. We can also set, so the configuration option here is the main configuration, the nixus configuration of the machine. We can also just pass an empty set here. Let's try building this. We might get, yeah, we'll get an error about the file systems. So let's set a simple one, file system dot root dot dev equals foo, and you also need boot.loader.drop.device equals no dev. No dev
Maybe
is,
change IP address.
I
Just
don't
in
really
case.
have a server I can deploy. What?
Just in case you use it. Don't want to overwrite it.
Well, it's not a server. It would be a demo server in any case. But yeah, actually, I think localhost would also work. Let's try what happens. Dev does not exist. It's device. Oh, replaceChars is duplicate. I'm not sure where that uses. Oh, actually, that's a good thing we could also look at. All right, but this seems to work despite not setting a system. If you would,
can you set the Nix packages using NixOS modules nowadays? I remember a bunch of Nix packages parameters were introduced recently.
I don't think that should be possible. Well, you can do this. There's nixpkgs.packages. You can set this to set the packages attribute you get when you take packages as an argument in the modules here. But what doesn't work, well, if you do this, what doesn't work is it won't change the actual modules for the nixpkgs. So it will still use the modules from the original nixpkgs that you have. And so really the only way to influence the modules that you use within your Nixus configuration is to kind of set it outside of the configuration itself. And so this is what I took advantage of using Nixus.
Got it.
Yes, but so what I wanted to mention is when you actually need to change the system of the or declare the system of the deployment host, you'd use a nixus option for that. Let's go to actually, where's search? Oh, here. I didn't even know that. So nixus option, let's search for system. Should probably find it here. Maybe not. I think it's in nixpkgs, or under nixpkgs here. We have 3 different ones. We only need this for cross compilation, local system. Well, yeah, I think this would be the one we'd want to set here. So we could set string or attribute set. So we could set nixpkgs dot host platform equals, well, we could say this, for example. All right. Oh, does not exist. Oh, it might be. I feel like I used a too old nixpkgs version here. Let me also show something interesting. So we'll fetch tarball if you're not in pure evaluation mode. You can also omit the hash. But we are in pure evaluation mode, so that doesn't work. And I think this actually also doesn't work in pure evaluation mode. There is a special URL that's channel and then nixpkgs unstable, or whatever channel you want to use. And oh, it actually might work. Let's see. This is impure though, so I wonder if, I guess Flakes will allow it since we have it hash. But this allows you it's a kind of easy way to fetch the latest Nix packages. But yeah, don't actually use this in code. I recommend only using this in the CLI.
But since we're in Flakes, we could also use Flake input for this.
Oh, right. Yeah, I didn't even think of that. So that works. So yeah, the host platform option was just too new. But yeah, you're right. Like, we are in Flakes. Let's use Flakes. And we use Nix packages. I think everybody here would know this. Nixus, Nix packages. Actually, so there's the option to use just this, but this then uses the registry, which is kind of an impurity in Flakes itself. And a lot of people aren't fond of that. So let's do this instead. So Nix packages, and so this is the path to Nix packages. I believe this might just work. All right. Seems like it's doing something. Yep. Okay, yeah, I think, yeah, evaluation succeeds. So yeah, this is, I'm not sure if this is actually required, but this is how I think it defaults to the deploy system actually, which is why this might not be required. But yeah, this would be a simple way of using Nixus in Flakes. Then something I wanted to show as well, this kind of leads into Nix packages again. So let's just evaluate this for now. State version, oof. This feels like an infinite recursion. All right, we use eval, and eval in the new CLI is currently strict by default. So if you have anything recursive, you'll get this. And there isn't a way to make it lazy as far as I know, yet. What I wanted to show, so in Nix packages, there is, so let's look at lib.warn. I think it's in trivial. Yeah. So there is this new environment variable, Nix abort on warn, which can treat warnings as errors. Yes. Which then allows you, I believe, to get the stack trace for a warning. And so let's try to replicate the one warning we had earlier. So we had the replaceChars, I believe. So we got this warning here. And so let's use this instead of replace strings in some place here. Well, let's just do replace strings. Grab for this here. Let's use lib.replaceChars instead. Lib is in scope, so that should work. And this is srs ren. Nix instantiate srs ren. We should get a warning. But now we can set this new environment variable, which I already forgot what it was called. Nix abort on warn. Set this equals 1, or true might also work. And we do this, and now we get an error instead. And I believe we should be able to have show trace work. Yeah. And so now this allows you to figure out where the warning actually comes from. So here we can scroll up a bit. Okay, it's not entirely clear, but we do have the message here. Points to SRS ren. All right. So yeah, do we have any questions relating to this or other things you might be curious about? All right, that looks like a no. So instead, what I think we can take a look at is we have some issues in the Nix Hour repository still. Not a lot, and so usually we'd sort by upvotes, but the only one with an upvote is something I don't really know too much about. Instead, we'll look at this one, which has a bunch of smaller sub-questions. And so somebody here wanted to add a Postgres extension, and so they opened a pull request, now merged, but there were some questions that came up while doing the pull request. And so the first one is what are the arguments required for the function? So like in this case, they needed kerberos. And so what argument do you need when you need kerberos as a dependency? And yeah, you'd get this error here, but this error here isn't really helpful in this case. Yeah, so simple solution, go to search.nixus.org, find packages there. So if we search for kerberos, I believe we should be able to find it. Yeah, we have some Python package, but there's actually one here. I believe these should probably be an alias of each other. I wish it would show it that it is an alias. It doesn't here. And I believe we might not get an error. But yeah, now once you know this, you can also build all of these attributes, libkrb 5. Let's also try just instantiating them to see if we get an error or a warning for one of them. Nope, seems like they can both be used. I do know that in Nix packages, the CI doesn't allow using aliases within Nix packages itself. You can replicate this using --arg config, and then allow aliases equals false. And this seems to work. I wonder, it might not be counted as an alias that is deprecated, which kind of makes sense. We didn't get a warning at all. I believe users would normally get a warning. Actually, let's look at this, another one. I know that util Linux, I believe, or package config. Oh, that's already removed now. Package config. Oh, no, it's not. Next instantiate package config. Oh, this is also doesn't throw a warning. Let's try it with allow aliases equals false. Oh, okay. Now it triggers. So yeah, pkg without a dash is not really available anymore. I don't like how the alias is entirely removed, which leads to poor error messages. Though in this case, it does point to the right one. So actually, we've seen 2 errors in kind of that way where it suggested a different one. But this comes from, these are implemented entirely differently. One of them actually by me, and the other is by me in nixpkgs, and the other is in Nix itself. Let's see if we can replicate this here. So this is a fairly new thing, but let's define an attribute set here, and let's say foo equals 10, bar equals 20. Now let's try to access foo. That works, but now if we make a mistake, let's say fob, it will suggest similar ones that it can find. So foo in this case, I believe this is based on the Levenstein distance, how it discovers these. And so this for nixpkgs, that works very nicely because we can say, so let's load nixpkgs. Oh, it's like this. Oh, I believe there is one. Well, let's do add import nixpkgs then. Oh, environment full. That's an error I've never seen before. Okay. Oh, we already loaded nixpkgs into here. Maybe that's why. Actually, let's try this. env.nix. Let's do like just a equals 10. Now let's do nix repl env.nix. And then a equals 1. Now that works. Load, add env.nix, import env.nix. Oh, like this. Now that works. Interesting. So there might be like a limit to how many variables you can have in the environment. That's very concerning. In any case, so yeah, in nixpkgs that's very useful because you can say packages.hell and then you'll get some suggestions. The other case where this error can occur, which isn't implemented entirely differently in nixpkgs, is at the callPackage side. So let's, for example, go in here. Let's find a fetch from. Well, actually, not. Let's fetch zip somewhere. Let's go into h2. And so here, there's another case where you might have misspellings, and that is here. So let's say you wrote fetch zip with an uppercase Z. And now let's try to build. Actually, this would give an error. We also need to change it here. Now let's try to instantiate h2, and we get the error we also saw a bit earlier. And so it also makes kind of the same suggestions here. It suggests fetch zip, fetch git, fetch it. Oh, that's an interesting one. Yeah, and so it's useful in case you do these misspellings. So the implementation of this one, I contributed to nixpkgs. The reason it's added to nixpkgs independently of Nix is because there's no kind of easy, straightforward way to make it work using Nix. Because this is it goes into the callPackage implementation. So we have callPackage with which is the underlying function, and it does some weird things with figuring out the arguments that the function has, and then intersecting these arguments with ones you provided or that are available by default, and then the rest are kind of, it does some stuff. On here we can see the implementation of the suggestions. So this hooks directly into the callPackage mechanism, and it does some interesting things here. This one was interesting to implement. It calculates the Levenshtein distance and whether it's below a certain number. And I struggle a bit to make it fast, but it is plenty fast now, so that's good. And yeah, ideally this would be abstracted a bit more. Ideally this would be Nix itself, which also has a separate implementation of the Levenshtein distance, not written in Nix itself. But yeah. So let's get back here. We have like 10 more minutes. So we have a link here to just like how could you know that this line would be needed? And they got an error without it. There's no like general way to say this. Let's try PG audit. Let's try, let's go. Sure. postgresqlPackages PG audit. So instantiating, we can always instantiate it. Building it, it's built on the Hydra, so we don't need to build it ourselves. But let's try PG audit. Let's try removing this line. And pretty much that's like getting the error and then noticing how it doesn't work and fixing it. It's kind of the general way of making packages work and building them in Nix.
By this being underinstalled, this would be a runtime error though, not a build time error.
Yeah, exactly. It's, in this case, the building works. And so I guess, yeah, you'd have to, actually, so ideally you'd get a time at build time of this package, and it not being the case kind of hints at the package missing some installer tests. But we could, so I think they also linked to a kind of simple test, although this uses the shell hook, so it couldn't be run in a Nix build. We could try using the Postgres hook, which allows you to run a Postgres database. So the postgresqlTestHook, which allows you to run a database within a Nix build, or easily at least. Yeah, I guess let's take a brief look at that. Let's go to the manual, postgresqlTestHook. So starts a server during the check phase. Okay, let's try this. Check inputs. Right, okay, that seems to be everything that's needed. So install phase is actually, I'm not sure if I believe the check phase runs before the install phase actually. Right, it would be the install check phase where we would need this. I wonder if this also works. Yeah, this seems not something I can do in 5 minutes. This would involve actually configuring the PostgreSQL in the right way, which might involve looking into how the PostgreSQL hook is defined. It might even have to be extended to support extensions itself. It's defined in here. Build support setup hooks. postgresqlTestHook. And then we have this. We can see what it does here. It sets some environment variables. It does some things here. Yeah. Oh, there is a configuration we could probably use to configure extensions. So PG data. Maybe let's just try printing this configuration to see what it contains. So let's do it in here. Cat this. I also like to just exit with 1 so we know exactly where the line is actually printed. All right, let's try a nix build-a postgresqlPackages.pg audit. Oh, variable is undefined. Let's add it at the top. All right, and it didn't run the install check phase. In this case, we need to say do install check equals true. I think it's disabled by default. And we can see that the variable is actually not set at all. So I believe it might only run in the install phase and it might tear it down afterwards. Let's try this. We might be able to test it here. That also, oh, we are in the install phase. We need to be in the check phase, which then wouldn't allow us to check the actual installation here, which is a bit unfortunate, but just trying to make it work now. Oh, and it also doesn't run the check phase by default, I'm noticing. So let's set do check equals true. And that also didn't do very much, even though we have set the check inputs. That is a bit concerning. I don't think the documentation said to... Oh, I guess, yeah, no, it did say exactly what we need to do. So yeah, we need to run the hooks. All right. Okay, that looks pretty good. So let's scroll up a bit here. See the configuration, a lot of it is commented out. I wonder where it comes from. Let's take another look at the test script here, the conf. So, okay, but apparently we can just append to the configuration. Lucky, since the configuration seems to be a fairly stringy format, so we don't need any closing brackets or anything like that. Yeah, but I don't want to go into that any more than that. It's probably something that could be taken a look at. Maybe there is even already an issue for this. See postgresqlTestHook extensions. Nope. I'm not convinced. Yeah, let's look at the next thing here. If we can, so yeah, there's really no good answer for how you can figure this out. Ideally, you have more tests, have the package have more tests, and there's more things you can improve, but there's no general answer. So the PR always asks for lots of information, and I have no idea how to answer. I think I should have named my PR or my commit message differently at least, but which one? And so to answer that, if we go to Nix packages, there is a pull request template here. I believe this might have been meant by the what to answer on one hand. So actually, let's look at it here. There are a lot of these questions. They're not entirely required. I believe this is also mentioned here. Yeah, please check what applies. Note that these are not hard requirements, but merely serve as informations for reviewers. And so in half of the PRs I make, when they're not relevant at all, I just delete them myself. I think they're to some degree just noise in the PR description. But if I work on a package and I want to be as fast as possible, I just click the ones or check the ones that apply. So, but yeah, for example, test it as applicable. If I tested it myself somewhere, then this sounds good. Is the sandbox enabled? That's generally always true on Linux, not on Darwin. On Darwin, it's disabled by default. We had a comment that how to word the commit messages is in here as well. Is it in contributing? Oh, it is. Very nice. And yeah, it's also in the, I thought it's also in the manual here. Submitting changes. Yeah, it's also in here. So commits have a general format that well, commits is the most important. We can also see this in the nixpkgs history here. All of these are in that kind of style, the name and the update you do, or init at. Honestly, I don't think there's a big reason we do this. I don't think anyone parses these or uses them for something. Well, actually, there is off-borg, so the CI in nixpkgs, which uses this here to figure out what it needs to build, or what would be good to build and check. But I don't think anybody else uses these. Might be wrong though. For now, that is the convention at least, and I recommend adhering to it. Yuri says that nixpkgs update uses them too. Okay, that's good to know. About PR naming, PRs should be named just to be descriptive for the people that see them. PR names will also end up in the commit log. So we can see, I believe this is the PR message. And generally just kind of try to make it relevant. You can also use the same commit message if you just have a single one. It's not as important, I don't think. We are out of time for now. But thanks for joining. Note that the next Nix Hour is on the 28th of March, 19 CEST. I will also announce this beforehand along with the live stream scheduling as always. But yeah, thanks for being here, and